be banned from trading individual stocks while serving in Congress?
No, I don't know to this second one. This is a free market and people, we are a free market economy. They should be able to participate in that.
Okay, so that is Nancy Pelosi, Speaker of the House, one of the most powerful Democrats in the country, being asked about what many, and I think more and more over time, think is clear corruption, which is representative senators being able to buy and own individual stocks while making decisions that will benefit or hurt the individual companies that they own in. That seems like obviously corruption to me, and some have been pushing for that to be outlawed as a practice. So not only, Jason, does she not have any interest in that, but her argument as to why was it's a free market. She responded in almost the exact same words I would imagine that a Mitch McConnell would or anyone else working with the Republican Party. That's the argument that she made for why we shouldn't have any oversight of the sort of stock ownership that our representatives can have.
Well, it's also because, first of all, it's reported that her net worth is like what, over 120 million as of 2021. And her husband, of course, trades stocks. He's an investment banker. He does that sort of thing. She's kind of, has her hand in the pot. Of course, she wants people to trade. It keeps her pockets lined. Here's the thing: you would think that people who work in the highest courts in the land, in the most respected buildings in America, and uphold these truths to be evident and all that stuff of American justice would do things with integrity, right? Because they go on the Hill, they pass these bills, they want everything to be done fairly and righteously, and make sure that we're not counting the little guy out, American citizenship, et cetera, et cetera. But then when it comes to their money, when it comes to what's lining their pockets, well, hold on.
Yeah.
Let's rethink this now. So that response from her, I'm not surprised by, but I think they should be able to invest, but if they do it with integrity and ethically. Because sure, they are tasked with creating policies and making sure that things are on the up and up. So you would think that they would uphold those same ethics in their doings and in their activities, which makes sense, right? Logically, that makes sense. Realistically, that's, I would imagine, isn't the case. So I'm not surprised that Nancy Pelosi said that. But again, getting back to how much she's worth a lot of money. And people who are worth a lot of money want to stay being worth a lot of money. They also want to make sure that a lot of money is coming back into their reality. So not shocked by that answer at all.
Yeah, and let's be clear, like nobody who is saying they shouldn't be allowed to own individual stocks thinks that they should be barred from investing in any fashion. They could own mutual funds, they could own index accounts, those sorts of things that would mean that if generally a sector or the entire stock market is doing well, they will do better. They can do all of those things, but it seems crazy that we would tell the head of IBM generally cannot own stock in that corporation because then the insider information they would have would allow them to make decisions. But somebody who's on a panel who can pass or reject legislation that could devastate IBM, they're allowed to own it. That just doesn't make sense to me. And we know last year, multiple senators and representatives were clearly making decisions based on the behind the scenes privileged information they had about what the pandemic was gonna look like. And they were financially benefiting themselves while going out there and telling us lies about how everything is gonna be great because they didn't want us to potentially bolt from different investments. But as Jason is saying there, she is very wealthy. I don't know exactly what she's worth today, but I know that according to OpenSecrets.org, back in 2015, she was worth $100 million. And since once you reach, let's say $10 million in net worth, there's literally nothing in America you can do that will stop you from ever being rich for the rest of your life. I have a feeling she's probably doing okay. And so it shouldn't be necessary to say, but I want to continually try to get through to people that if one person makes 20,000 a year and another makes 70,000 a year or 150,000 a year, they can still, in a lot of ways, sort of live the same life. When you are worth $100 million, to me, you are an alien entity.
Right.
It's like we we grew up on like X-Files and stuff, so we think, oh, aliens are like little green people, but they're probably like us. No, they're probably nothing like us. They probably have nothing in common with us and don't think the same way as we do. Why would we assume that someone who has more individual value than everyone I've ever known in my life combined would think about anything the way that I do? I'd have more in common with an entity from Venus than I do from a person who is worth $100 million. But she's in a position of power, Jason, so she gets to decide, not based on what's good for us or what's good for the country or what's good for the government, but what is individually good for her, and that is how she's gonna make these decisions.
I would agree, and it's always interesting how people jettison like common sense when it comes to dealing with money. Have you ever seen someone who super nice, really cool person enter the conversation of money, or owe them money and they're a completely different person? I feel like that's Nancy Pelosi when she's this upstanding woman, Speaker of the House, as you said, one of the most powerful people in the world. But when we start talking about money, skirt, her Sasha Fierce comes out. Her alter ego emerges because now it's hitting her in a place that's very visceral for her. So I don't know, John, you make very salient points there. I do agree, and I don't know anyone that's worth $100 million. I was actually shocked to know that Nancy Pelosi is worth that much, and it's also interesting thinking about how much she makes as Speaker of the House. Not that much money.
No, not that much. I mean, compared to a regular person, a lot, but not $100 million.
Compared to us mere mortal peasants on Earth, not the aliens and that on that planet, it's probably a drop in the bucket for her. I don't want to assume that she probably gives the money away, but I would imagine that stipend that she gets annually for being Speaker of the House, because that's what it looks like. What reportedly, allegedly, it's like $195,000 a year in that ballpark. Right. I was her, I would donate to charity, because what is that? What is that? You know?
Yeah, it's like what is that? Buy one of her refrigerators a year, something like that. But anyway, let's talk about why she might be biased in this area beyond just the fact that she has a lot of money. So her husband is investor Paul Pelosi, frequently trades significant numbers of stocks. With her husband's assets considered, Pelosi ranks among the wealthiest members of Congress, according to Insider. Well, she'd better at $100 million. But anyway, a representative for her says the speaker does not own any stocks. As you can see from the required disclosures with which the speaker fully cooperates, these transactions are marked SP for spouse. The speaker has no prior knowledge or subsequent involvement in any transactions. Okay, so she's saying, I don't do the sort of thing that you want to ban. That's all like my husband, and I don't talk to him or whatever. But here's the thing, like, so for instance, right before Congress had this antitrust bill that would affect big tech, he made about $5.3 million, okay, in stock sales. So what we're supposed to believe is that Nancy Pelosi, who we have to assume has access to as much information as anyone in government about what Congress is going to do. I mean, she's literally the head of the Democrats in the House, sees her husband, who's an investor, he could potentially make or lose millions of dollars. And thanks to her great ethics, she would never share any information. I mean, she doesn't own stock. She wouldn't want to get involved in that. They just probably, they have a wall between their personal life and the information she has. Who the hell believes that? Who believes that?
John, again, you are so on the main today. No one believes that. That's her husband. That's her man, right? Yeah, she may have her own money, but she is adjacent to his business, and her position is adjacent to his lifestyle and what he does and his life in its totality. And I'm for sure, her being who she is and who he is goes hand in hand, just on optics alone, right? She's a Speaker of the House. Nancy Pelosi is a freaking celebrity. She's a celebrity. She's a political celebrity, right? He is this investment banker. They benefit each other. You mentioned informing each other on things. Her being able to be in the position of power that she is to make these decisions in regards to this act or to have influence over where this act can go about allowing people to invest is beneficial to him. And also him being privy to information in regards to sales and trading and whatnot that will also yield returns in millions of dollars that will benefit her. Even if she has her own money, she's still spending his money too. It's their money together, right? So they both benefit. Her adjacent position and in who he is. No one's buying it. Good try, Nancy. But yeah, it's what's that? I heard this today at the store. Hogwash. It's hogwash.
It is utter hogwash. It's Hogwarts wash, honestly, is what it is. For more political news breakdowns, interviews, stories of activism, and me trying my hardest to care about the occasional big celebrity news story, subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/The Damage Report. And you can ring the bell wherever it is so you don't miss anything.